As the war in Ukraine enters its 1,000th day, Western allies have expressed their dissatisfaction with the final communique issued at the G20 summit in Brazil. Critics argue that the text, while emphasizing humanitarian concerns and territorial integrity, fell short by failing to directly name Russia as the aggressor in the conflict.
We've put as the Brazilian G20 presidency the launch of a global alliance against hunger and poverty as the central goal. This will be our biggest legacy. It is not only about making justice. This is an essential condition to build a more prosperous and peaceful world.
The absence of explicit condemnation of Russia's invasion marks a shift from previous international statements and has sparked widespread criticism from leaders who had hoped for stronger language.
Just came around to say hello. I'm so fly. You took a nosedive. Careful when you play on my level. For you it's so. Hey, hello.
Motorola Razr 50 Ultra. Flip the script.
Hello, Moto.
Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky voiced his frustration with the communique, accusing G20 leaders of failing to take firm action. He specifically criticized the summit for not adopting a strong strategy against Russia, pointing out that despite Russia's increasingly aggressive stance, including the easing of nuclear weapon protocols, the G20's final statement was largely silent on Moscow's role.
When they attack, even in media, even by words about nuclear weapon and their strategy, I think today, G20 countries, they're sitting today in Brazil. Did they say something? Nothing. Nothing strong. This is the answer. So what strategy can be if even G20 countries don't have any strong strategy? So our strategy is to be strong, and if when Putin even begin to speak about nuclear weapon, the world has to put answer on the table, really strong answer on the table, what they will do if Putin will use something like this weapon or other things.
German Chancellor Olaf Scholz was equally disappointed by the wording of the final text. Scholz expressed his concerns in a press conference, stating that the communique was too little and failed to clearly place responsibility on Russia for the war.
It is too little when the G20 cannot find the words to make it clear Russia is responsible.
Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau also voiced his disappointment with the final statement, noting that it did not reflect the gravity of Russia's actions in Ukraine. Trudeau, who has been a vocal advocate for stronger sanctions against Russia, remarked that the wording in the G20 communique was too diluted for his tastes. French President Emmanuel Macron echoed the concerns of his Western counterparts, emphasizing that France's position on the war remains unchanged. It is a war of aggression launched by Russia.
The communique was closed by President Lula. It fell short of the position we could have had. This does not change anything in France's position. It is a war of aggression launched by Russia against Ukraine, and our priority today is to obtain a lasting peace.
UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer struck a more measured tone, but still conveyed his dissatisfaction with the G20 communique. A spokesperson for Starmer emphasized that the shift in language was disappointing but not surprising, given the diverse range of countries represented at the G20 summit, including those with close ties to Russia. Starmer himself acknowledged the complexity of including direct blame toward Russia, while it remained part of the G20 discussions, but he reiterated the UK's strong support for Ukraine and its sovereignty.
And under my leadership, Britain will never be absent from the world table.
We will work with partners across the G20, but one nation stands apart. For the third year running, Putin did not attend this summit. He is the author of his own exile. And on day 1,000 of Russia's illegal war in Ukraine, I say again, end the war, get out of Ukraine, and in this moment, when global challenges are affecting us at home, I take the view more than ever that British leadership matters.
Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva, who hosted the summit, faced criticism for finalizing the communique prematurely, allegedly without fully consulting key Western leaders. Lula's decision to approve the statement ahead of schedule drew ire from countries like France, Germany, and the United States, who felt they were sidelined in the final stages of the summit's decision-making process. While Lula advocated for a more neutral stance, recognizing the importance of dialogue with countries that may not align with the West, the lack of explicit condemnation of Russia left many feeling that the communique did not adequately reflect the gravity of the situation in Ukraine. The final G20 statement, which focused primarily on humanitarian issues and territorial integrity, represented a stark contrast to the stronger language used in the G7 communique just days before. The G7's unequivocal support for Ukraine highlighted Russia's invasion as the central issue of the ongoing conflict, further emphasizing the divide within international forums on how to address the war. For many, the G20's weak response signals a broader challenge in achieving unity on this critical issue.